Hello and welcome to this recap on reporting in Jira. This reviews a recent live session for the ACP 620, but we'll cover reports in Jira. All right, let's jump in. The first thing to understand is that the term report in the context of Jira means something very specific. There is a feature in Spaces that is called reports. There are other things in Jira, though, that will give you analytics. We'll cover dashboards in another section, and there's other things like the Insights feature or even an entire app called Analytics that will dig deeper and give you different ways of finding it. For the purpose of this video, though, we're going to consider anything in the reports feature of your space to be a report. We'll cover some of the more commonly used ones. We won't dig into every single one, but if you're taking the ACP 620, there might be questions around which report should you use in certain situations or how to interpret them. We don't have to become super experts, but we have to generally know what is available so when our team needs help, we can best guide them. So now that we know what this is, let's pop into Jira Cloud Premium and see what we have. Here we are in Jira Cloud Premium, and I'm in our test instance, so I will be going back and forth between some good screenshots from Atlassian Learning and this live premium instance, but what I'm looking for is the Reports tab. Keep in mind this might have been moved or renamed or even hidden under this plus, so if you don't see it, talk to your space admin or click this plus to see if it's hiding there. But I'll take a look at my reports by clicking on this. And as a quick reminder, I don't have to memorize every one of these and know what they're all for, but I should have a general idea of when they're helpful. Here, we're going to cover some of the more widely used ones, our Burndown Chart, Velocity Chart, and Cumulative Flow Diagram, and I'll describe some other ones that I like to use. Here we have a Burndown Chart. Now this is used by Scrum teams, and it relates to how much work they have committed to doing, and how much work they ended up completing at the start and end of a sprint or iteration. Here I can see we started by committing about 35 story points of work. And then at the end, we actually got to completing all of them. The red line shows me work as it's being completed or as it's being added to the sprint. One thing to look out for are spikes where the number goes up. This indicates that work was either added to the sprint or something that was marked as done was reopened. So this suggests I should go look in to see what happened, what was added. As the line drops down, it indicates work is completed, and ideally by the end of the sprint, we get to 0. The gray line is showing me if I complete work on an average basis, how should it look when I get to 0? These vertical bars indicate non-working days, for example, weekends. So ideally, my red line matches my gray line. In reality, we'll get a shape more like this, where nothing seems to happen, then we get these big drops as work is completed. This big drop at the end is also very common. Teams will do a lot of work in the last few days of the sprint, and then it falls off to 0. Again, things to look for, if it goes up, because this is a burn down chart, or if you see massive drops, you may want to investigate to see what happened. How did the team complete that much work all at once? Next, we'll take a look at the velocity chart. Velocity is a term used by Scrum teams to indicate how much work on average they've been completing in past sprints. If they're using story points, it'll be expressed as story points. If not, it could be by hours or time. However, it will look something like this. Again, this image is from Atlassian Learning and shows a fairly healthy velocity report. The horizontal line is the average amount of work this team happens to have been completing, about 137 units, or story points. Here I can see each sprint represented by 2 columns. The gray column is how much they committed to doing at the start of the sprint. The green column is how much they actually completed at the end. Ideally, these bars are the same. However, it very rarely is, as teams will usually slightly overcommit. So more commonly, we get something like this. However, sometimes teams do complete more than they committed to. Things to watch for are big gaps between these two. If a team is overcommitting, that doesn't look very good because they'll have said, I can do all this work and they can't complete it all. You should, however, also look out for bars like this, where they have completed a lot more than they committed. This could be because someone came back from vacation, or it could also mean they're underestimating. Over time, this should level out though, as teams figure out how to work together. So don't expect the first 2, 3, or 4 to be very level. As time progresses though, we should expect this to start to even out to roughly whatever the average is. Next up, we have the Cumulative Flow Diagram. This diagram is particularly useful to Kanban teams because it shows us the amount of work, in this case by status. Here I can see the orange is my to-do, so essentially my backlog. The orangey color at the bottom is everything released or accepted, and the bits in the middle are in progress. We can expect over time this general chart to get bigger as more work is added, and for the orange one, or your to-do or backlog status, to increase. After all, over time, teams are asked to do more work. We can also expect any complete statuses or done states in the bottom to increase over time as teams complete things. What we should be on the lookout for are spikes in the in-progress statuses. For example, in my flow, I might take one piece of work and then that gets bumped down into the next status, architecture review. And then I might bump another one down to the next one, coding. So where I see the same bump occur throughout the diagram, that's okay. The same amount of work exists. I just completed something extra here. When I see one of these in progress statuses, though, spike up on its own, it suggests the team accepted more work into that state. And typically with something like Kanban, I want to control the amount of in progress work. So anywhere I see something like this, I'm going to go investigate and talk to the team. I want to make sure that they are still able to accomplish their work. Again, this is the cumulative flow diagram. There are some other interesting reports in here. We have some versions of the velocity or burndown report for versions and epics. So those are also very useful to look at just those particular things. And then as we scroll down, we'll have developer operations reports, things like cycle time, how quickly are we able to pump out code, as well as the deployment frequency, how regularly are we deploying things. The reports at the bottom tend to be more generally useful. How old is the average ticket in here? How many are we creating and resolving? How long does it take to resolve work items? And I find these are more useful to more teams. The ones at the top tend to focus more on Scrum, Kanban, and developer operations. At the bottom, we do have a list of forecasting and time management. These depend on you using the time management features and allow you to figure out how much work does one individual have, or how much general time are we tracking against. So those are the reports available to us as space admins. It is important to get hands-on with these. You need to be familiar with what a number of them do, and there are some questions on that ACP 620 about them. So it can be useful to understand a little bit more about the background, but we don't have to be super experts. Think of it more as something you would help provide general guidance to someone or to point them out to the team so they can find them themselves. I'm curious though how you use reports in Jira. Do you use this particular feature or do you use other things to get your metrics? Let me know down in the comments, and please let me know if you like this. Just hit the like button and subscribe. That helps other people find it, and be on the lookout for more sessions coming soon. Me again, thank you so much for watching that video. Check out more here and pop down into the description. I've got a blog with weekly content. I also have a lot of online learning on Atlassian stuff and project management. And if you need personalized training for you and your team, reach out and let me know. I'll be happy to get something set up for you. Thanks again for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here again soon.